Happy Monday, everybody. I've got two things I want to discuss on this video. One was a request this morning for, again, the probe placement for the Pro Products radiant heat panels. We're going to discuss that a little bit later, but on the first part of this, I had a gentleman write on my updated product review of the TGR enclosures, and of course his concern was the tracks. Everybody, I think he's fixed that problem. I think TGR has realized that they really screwed up with using two-sided tape on their tracks. I think they did go to screws. They got that fixed. From what everybody has told me, that problem is fixed. However, if you are buying from said company or any individual that's building these cages, we have people all over the country that are building these PVC enclosures. You might know somebody, hey, yeah, I can do that. You may have built it yourself using my video. Whatever the case may be, there's one thing I want you guys to look for. And make sure this gets done, because it is very important in my eyes. This is a substantial problem that several of these enclosures have. If you write me about this and I tell you to make sure you check the window frame and make sure that the edges are sanded, let me show you what I'm referring to. These two corners right here, inside and outside of your window frame, these companies are using these CDC machines or whatever those machines are to cut this out. It is a very precise cut. It looks clean. It looks phenomenal. Everything matches up perfectly. If you do it the way I did it with the saw, if you use a jigsaw, whatever, this edge is going to be very sharp. So like I said in the video where I was showing you how to build these, you have to take an orbital sander, or you could even take one of those sanding blocks, 120 grit sandpaper, and just rub that edge off of that corner, make it rounded off. You can see this is an Animal Plastics T8 enclosure, and you can tell the corners all the way around are rounded off beautifully. That is a very well done window frame. Mine sanded the corner off of it. Let me tell you why. The enclosures I have over there, I was just cleaning it a couple of weeks ago. I'm wiping down up through here, big old slice in my hand from the corner of this window frame. So if it can happen to me, it can definitely happen to your snake. I know from experience that this can happen to your snake. If most of you remember the individual that built my 6-foot enclosure, these were not rounded off. I introduced a male to the female. The female was combative. They went at it. They were thrashing about, smacking the windows. I pull that male out. He's got lacerations all down the side of his body. Very, very serious lacerations. So that is something that if you have a privately made enclosure, any company, I know Animal Plastics does a great job with it, so I'm not concerned about them. But if you have someone that's building these enclosures privately, or any other company that I'm not familiar with, check those edges on your window frame. Those are very, very sharp when they're done with any of the tools. It doesn't matter what tool. If they cut this window out, it leaves a very sharp edge, and it is very capable of slicing your animal. So 120 grit sandpaper, orbital sander, or a block sander, just knock that corner off of that edge. I did both inside and out on all of the enclosures that I built, and I can tell you right now, you ain't going to walk over there and do that to those enclosures over there. You're going to be having some nubs. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. Again, if you hear me say knock the edges off of your window frame, that's what I'm referring to. Inside and out, bottom, top, sides. Make sure you knock all those corners off. Now on to the next one. Had a gentleman write me this morning. Apparently there's a lot of confusion with the probe placement again. There's a lot of people on Facebook asking about the probe placement for the radiant heat panel, specifically for the Pro Products radiant heat panels. His question was, does he go with the air temperature or does he go with surface temperature? Most of you know that with my platforms that I built for my 6-foot enclosures, you see where my probe placement was laying on top of the shelf itself. On these here, if you watch the video on the setup for Pro Products heat panels and your LEDs, LED lights, you will see that I came up 2 inches on the probe entry on the bottom of the enclosure. I run it in and it sits on the floor. So we're talking about surface temperature. A lot of people are confused about that right now. This is a basking area, so if the temperature is set, mine are set between 85, 86 degrees, they can go on to this. It's a radiant heat panel. It radiates heat down to a surface. So you're going to want to use that as a surface temperature. If you have your probe up in the air, the surface itself may not get as hot as you want it. That's kind of like a 6 apples in one hand, a half a dozen in the other. It's basically the same thing. I like to go by surface temperature. And it depends on your ambient temperature in your room. So let's say, and this gentleman this morning brought this up, he is from the northern section of the United States. His enclosures are in the basement like mine. His ambient air temperature is in the 60s. So if you have, say you have 1 or 2 enclosures that nothing below them, that base of that enclosure is going to be colder than the air temperature itself. So there again, I feel that it would be very important to have the probe sitting on the surface, make sure it heats up that surface area for their basking area of 85 to 86 degrees. I'm trying to be real clear because he did say that he was getting so many different answers from so many different people that he was very confused on the whole process itself. So hopefully that clears things up. As I stated, even with a platform, my probe is sitting on the platform, on the surface area. Now, one of the questions I had somebody else ask me, what if the snake is laying on the probe? Okay, well, the radiant heat panel is radiating heat down to your snake. When that thing is 86 degrees, or that snake is 86 degrees, it's going to shut off anyway. Now, let's not forget that these are self-regulating animals. If they are getting too hot over here, they're going to go over here. But I have found 85 to 86 degrees on the probe on the surface area here is pretty much equivalent on a 4-foot enclosure to be between 76 and 78 on this side. So you do have your hot side and your cool side. But I personally go by surface temperature, not air temperature. I don't have my probe sticking through the side of the enclosure and it's just pulling an air temperature. This is actually a surface temperature reading that I'm going by. Again, with the thermostats that I use, I always take a heat gun and test it. I do that at least once a week. I have scheduled it to where when I'm changing out my water, I change out water about every other day. I keep several heat guns around, so I'll go ahead, oh hey, I got the heat gun right here. Hit it and make sure I do any kind of adjustments. Definitely want to do it at least once a week. Heat panels are, in my opinion, much better than the FlexWatt. There again, with the FlexWatt, you're heating that surface. So that is what you're wanting to go by, just to kind of reiterate. So with those 2 things covered, I hope that has answered a few questions for people. Guys, I'm going to ask for your help on this one. I've been doing these videos for about 6 months now, and hopefully we have helped a bunch of people. But I need to know what you guys want me to cover on the next video or upcoming videos. If you have a question, if you have something that you're confused about, you see questions being asked all the time on Facebook about certain aspects of raising reticulated pythons, go ahead and drop me a comment on here and let me know what you want for me to cover on upcoming videos. I'm kind of in a sensory overload mode right now. I've got eggs that are due to hatch in about 20-25 days. I've got snakes that I'm getting ready for breeding season this upcoming season, so they're getting fed a lot, which we all know if they get fed a lot, they're going to shit and piss a lot. So every day I'm coming down here and having to clean 4 or 5 enclosures. I'm kind of tired, so I need you guys' help. Whatever you want me to cover, drop it in the comments. We'll try to get to it as soon as we can. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you on the next video. Peace out.